我哋好清楚知道，無論係電影、表演藝術，甚至乎係劇場，裡面有好多效果都可以係虛構出嚟嘅。尤其是當創作人大量應用媒體科技嘅時候，基本上所有觀眾睇到嘅畫面都可以係虛擬影像，就好似呢片藍天白雲咁樣啊，佢哋都可以係假嘅，而且好假。咁究竟點先叫做新嘅 media 呢？近嚟成日講嘅 VR、AR 技術，甚至經常喺大製作電影同埋遊戲裡面運用到嘅 motion capture， 又能唔能夠運用喺香港嘅藝術同埋劇場界呢？更加重要嘅問題係，呢啲技術對於創作人嚟講係咪真係必須嘅呢？定係只係為咗噱頭啊？只係為咗追上潮流而夾硬喺藝術上面加插呢啲新科技？
其實科技係必須啊嘛，對於藝術創作係啊，即係我會咁樣答嘅。其實一個歷史嘅角度啦，電影同埋其實攝影本身都有科技嚟嘅，咁但係而家其實已經變咗一門藝術啦。咁100年前嘅電影其實都係新媒體嚟㗎，可能好貧窮劇場嘅，Grotowski 嘅，又有導演係Robert Touchy-Fans 嚟嘅，好運用得科技好純熟嘅，有好多時真係市場需要。咁你唔係科技嘅 gimmick，又可能係明星，人都有好奇㗎啦，都想知嗰啲新科技咩嚟㗎啦。大概2年前啦，佢做 Tempest， 咁裏邊有隻即係好出名嘅精靈角色，就係用呢個 live 嘅 motion capture 喺度做嘅。咁我睇翻啲 comment， 大家都覺得就係你頭先嘅講法，就係 gimmick 嚟嘅。點解要做 live 嘅 motion capture 咧？點解唔係可以拍低佢咧？3年前啊，我做過另一個製作叫The Lever， 好大程度上係需要更加多嘅我自己做呢啲嘢嘅經驗，都係喺一個冇乜資源嘅情況之下做嘅。喺香港做劇場，其實個資源不嬲都好緊絀㗎啦。同另外一個團體叫做天多製作做咗個講座，咁同佢哋傾咗好耐，都係發覺大家遇到嘅同樣問題嘅，將科技融入呢個創作裏邊，做呢啲嘢牽涉到即係真係有啲幾 hardcore 嘅 research 嘅。初試呢套嘢咧，用途就一定係舞蹈嘅，一定係即係motion capture用喺跳舞度。即係 programmer 其實做咗一啲類似 system 嘅嘢咧，其實for dance 嘅 research 嘅，就係譬如最簡單，我可以將你個身體手手腳腳撈亂嘅，變咗另外一隻生物嘅，即或者你幻想你就係嗰隻生物，你個 movement 會係點嘅咧？dancer 又好 actor 又好，同佢 work 嘅話，其實佢都係一個 object 或者一件嘢嚟啫嘛。即係我會即刻問你，其實你一做咗呢條嘢，你覺得點先？你有咩感覺？我俾個 costume你做呢個 import 咁樣樣，其實嗰個我覺得原理係一樣嘅。唔係，其實呢一啲問題就係可以係一個創作嘅 starting point 咯，我只可以話。
咁你又話你係讀 program 出身，咁你可唔可以講翻點解你最開頭點解你會想入去學院度教書咧？
因為其實我落嚟一直以嚟做好多嘢，即係譬如我寫個 program 自己摸翻嚟嘅。咁嗰陣時都有個諗法，就係需要整理一下自己一直以嚟所謂自己摸到嘅嘢啦，係咪可以有啲嘢可以對其他人有用咧？咁樣就嘗試下教書啦。
變咗好似可能教下又教唔到咁樣咧？
會㗎，即係就係用一個手機插落一個
紙箱咁樣，
或者一個眼罩度，跟住放落眼度啊嘛。係啊。係啦，咁曾經係興過一輪㗎嘛。咁但係其實而家呢種咁嘅做法已經係即係 outdate 咗㗎啦。即係已經係一體式嘅眼鏡，即係唔係用手機㗎啦。即係真係可以成全嘅知識沉澱，跟住變咗一啲好有用嘅材料去到
教人其實係一個即係真係一個漫長嘅 process 嚟嘅。
架構上啊，或者支援上有冇幫到你咧？喺呢度，即係尤其是一個咁日新月異、咁快速嘅、咁短嘅時間之內。
學院係好多資源，但係有另外即係好多限制嘅，即係你好難好有系統地教嘅，因為嗰樣嘢都未成。我諗呢個都有幾大難題，即係對於學院嚟講，其實都有一個幾複雜嘅。某程度上，你需要一啲好強嘅 research 咯。
即係喺呢個行業嘅環境啊、政府啊或者一啲資源嘅贊助制度之下啦，你會唔會令到你可以同一啲其他啲新媒體嘅公司合作啊，甚至乎去共同做一啲創新科技藝術嘅發展咁樣咧？
如果講資源咧，我諗即係創新科技嘅資源係都好多嘅。即係詬病咗好耐嘅數碼港，即係創新科技更加係一個噱頭嚟嘅，有創意嘅公司想合作嘅，係咪啊？例如其中一間就係 Meta Object 啦。
So as I know, you guys have a fashion show by digital one, right? So can you talk more about this digital fashion show? How does it happen where is the trigger to make you guys to doing fashion show online?
This year, unfortunately, they can't do a physical exhibition because of the coronavirus. So they approached us to ask us for ideas about how they might be able to present this fashion show in a digital form.
So basically, we can say that it's the pandemic give us a chance to do the virtual one.
Well, certainly the pandemic has perhaps demonstrated to everyone that these online digital projects and virtual worlds are possible.
But this is also is for you guys the first time to doing like online fashion show, the virtual fashion show, right?
Yeah, so this is our first fashion project. So we're interested that we were recommended by some of our other art partners to do this project, and we found it very interesting because it makes you think about other ways of using the technology and trying to think of how, fashion, you start to realize that there are a lot of crossovers with fashion and art, fashion and technology.
So when we change it to the virtual one, so even in an online version, they kind of became like indoor designer for the whole showroom.
Yeah, so they have to basically come up with the look and feel of the space. Like, what is the aesthetic? How big? How do people encounter their outfits? And they have to think about props, like what kind of objects are there, whether it's flowers or lights or different kinds of furniture, or if there's a wall so that so people can walk around and experience their works. And there's also the sound element as well. So they will send a music track that they want to use in the space. So it's a full kind of virtual experience. So you can also view it on your mobile, and you can walk around, navigate through the space, and then you can click on the different outfits. And then it's actually easier to do 360 photography of the outfits if you want to really represent the work. So there's a pop-up when you click on the mannequins, and it will show a 360. You can swipe to scroll around the mannequin with the outfit, and then zoom in so you can see all the details of the fabric. Because with fashion design, they really care about the materials and what it looks like, the patterns and things like that.
Within these days, by crossovering, like fusion for them and work in different area.
I mean, even before the pandemic, we have worked with artists doing these hybrid physical and digital projects.
So for Lu Yang, she has a background in kind of animation and video production, and she is really interested in kind of Chinese medicine and Buddhism and the afterlife and neurology, so like controlling the body.
Some kind of like new age, but presented in a digital way, yes.
Yeah, so she's really interested in kind of Japanese manga and music, like J-core. And so she will combine these kind of aesthetics, and using motion capture is kind of tied in conceptually because she's interested in manipulating the body, the virtual body, and manipulating it, her own body in a virtual space. So she also created her own virtual avatar, which is kind of androgynous, so that she can manipulate it and have a dancer make it do things that she couldn't do in real life.
Liu Yang was invited to do a performance at the Visual Arts Centre a few years ago. She comes from a 3D animation background. A lot of her work involves these 3D animated characters. And so she wanted to be able to bring these characters to life live. So we developed this motion capture performance where she would have a dancer in front of a large screen, and the dancer's movement, which is actually, these are stills from some of her performances. So the dancer's movement would be live mapped to her characters, which would then show on a big screen behind the dancer for the audience. So these kind of performances have been started to develop, especially as this technology becomes cheaper, so that artists can actually afford the equipment and the kind of computers necessary to render this. Doing this kind of thing live instead of just using pre-recorded animation, it's really about the live show. So having a dancer actually dance in front of a live audience so that the audience can like see the dancer and then see what's happening behind them. It's just a different experience for the audience. It would be like having a rock concert, but instead of having the band playing in front, just playing a video of the band on the big screen. It's really about creating this whole live show rather than just about the video output. So part of the performance, as well as the dancer, the artist Liu Yang is also live triggering events. So where explosions are happening, where scene transitions, she has a MIDI controller there where she's live performing. So it really is a complete audio-visual live performance.
How do you think that AR and VR sort of like motion captures, is it common for right now or in the future?
I think a lot of the technologies are still developing. Like certainly this happens, this kind of technology happens in stages. So if you look at VR, for example, during the 90s, like VR first became possible. So then there was a big wave of hype about these VR arcades, but it didn't really go any further than that until a couple of decades later, where things like a PC technology enabled realistic 3D at an affordable price, where high resolution screens made it so that you could have these small screens in the headset that were actually high enough resolution to make a realistic world.
Yeah, so part of our mission at Meta Objects is also to find ways to bring it back to the university and to share with kind of young artists or students how they can use this technology for their own work. So we developed some motion capture, but also animation and VR workshops that basically spend 1 or 2 days walking through the processes of how to use this technology, like the very basics, and then giving examples, some of the history behind the technology and how it's been used through different artistic projects, just to kind of inspire people about how it can be used and what you can do with it. And then the second day, we normally walk through the software and kind of do some basic kind of applying the motion data to animation. So using software like Blender. So that was a lot of fun because the students were very interested and very engaged, and we had a mix of both artists but also engineers. Yeah, this was in February, late February, and we were supposed to host a live performance at Federation Square, but at that time the coronavirus was just kicking off. So unfortunately, Liu Yang couldn't travel from China for the performance. So we actually postponed the performance, and now we're planning it to happen in November, but it will be a virtual live stream live motion capture from Shanghai. So for that project, we're collaborating with Cronus Art Center in Shanghai, who have a OptiTrack equipment, but they also supporting space. And there'll be a dancer in their space. Liu Yang, who's based in Shanghai, will be performing in the space, and then we'll be live streaming to Melbourne this performance. And since it's online, we can actually, anyone from anywhere around the world can access and see the performance.
And also feel the distance is so close,
Yeah.
even though maybe the artist is in Shanghai, but everything happened in Melbourne.
Yeah, but it really allows for kind of also cross-institutional collaboration. So the first time for Cronus to work with Acme and Art Center Melbourne projects, we can really find many different institutional partners to collaborate. And I think now it really makes them interested because the situation of the virus has allowed this to happen. And basically, like, it also gives more funding opportunities if you can have funding come from different institutions. And the next iteration, we're trying to think about having local dancers in each city, different cities, so they can have a live audience in different cities and local dancers, and then have a live virtual performance where they're all interacting together in a virtual space. So that's kind of what we hope to do in the future as a iteration of the project.
重要嘅係即係真係有一個supportive 嘅制度，去到支援 artist 又好，programmer 又好。譬如即係台灣真係有個科技園㗎嘛，香港某程度上就係即係真係都幾缺乏呢啲因素。資源啦、環境啦，即係或者觀眾或者人或者 artist 本身，佢點樣理解所謂呢啲新科技咧？我自己即係譬如而家拍呢個節目，其實某程度上，我覺得 for 我嚟講，其實唔係一啲問題嚟嘅，即係有一啲其實應該唔需要解釋嘅。但係你見到喺呢度係需要咯，好老土嘅即係個講法，科技其實。即係藝術源自生活，咁我哋而家嘅生活其實都被科技包圍住啦。即係我哋唔可以成日都拆開啲嘢，我哋日日都對住個電話，日日都對住，即係我哋其實而家唔可以排個戲。如果係好生活化嘅，我哋唔可以抽空呢啲嘢噶嘛，我哋要用噶嘛。遇到 question 嘅問題都係 relate to 呢啲嘢噶嘛，將呢啲嘢放入去個創作度好理所當然。呢個 COVID-19 你會睇到衍生出嚟，真係有啲計劃係即係真係叫 digital、art go digital 咁樣，即係真係開始將呢啲數碼技術即係認真地去做呢件事咯。即係之前其實即係真係唔係好多呢啲資源，即係唔會特別有資源去到做呢件事嘅。係啊，我哋都係喺某個大餅裏邊再分一啲細餅，再分啲細餅出嚟，
再分咗餅碎。
餅碎咯。
究竟香港嘅未來會係點樣？藝術同科技又可以產生啲咩新嘅碰撞？我哋會唔會因為科技而逐漸遠離現實？定係藝術可以作為一個契機，令我哋去思考未來嘅人類狀況？
好，第一個係 A pose 啊。
A pose。語言同 figure。
係啦，冇乜資源嘅情況之下做嘅，咁
你有冇行開？
可以。
我唔係嘅。
兩個人開。
我叫條線行。
好，係需要 Jazza 㗎，係啊。